everyone, welcome to Reading with Eve, and let's get on with the bookish video. And we finally made it! Another installment of my Taylor Swift song matchup series is ready. And in this series, I look up some thriller / horror / dark fantasy horror-esque books, and I match up those books to Taylor Swift songs per album. I've already done a video like that for 1989, and this time we are looking at Speak Now. I'm doing this in order of my technically least favorite to my most favorite. I mean, I love all of her albums. They have songs that I just adore, like each of them. I mean, trying to rank her songs is like a whole other thing, but something has to be in the last place. So I'm not going to tell you what album is coming next because it's going to be a surprise. But Speak Now was the era during which I became a fan, because I think I became her fan like 2011-ish, something like that. It's been a long time, but it's already been out, the album, and I had her 3 to listen to while I waited for whatever came next, and it holds a special place in my heart, not to mention that I think it's probably the closest we have got at this point to Taylor Swift rock album, which I know a lot of fans, including myself, are hoping for one day. I don't know if that's ever gonna happen, because we keep hoping and thinking, but maybe, we'll see. Anyway, so far, the Speak Now album is the closest to that. It has so many of my favorites, and I mean the fact that it's entirely self-written, I think that speaks volumes. So I have 21, I think, songs to recommend. So songs, books, see, we're off to a great start. So I won't waffle on for much longer. And when talking about the books, I will try to be concise when describing what the book is about, because I will mainly focus why I match them. Because some of these are less obvious than others, but it's hard. That's why it took me so long to make this video. It's hard to match thriller or horror to a Taylor Swift song, but it's a fun exercise. So let's do it. So the first song on Speak Now is mine, and it is one of my all-time favorite Taylor songs. Honestly, I just find it so beautiful, so emotional and relatable, and the fact that it has such an uplifting ending. I mean, the lyrics and the sound, chef's kiss. I mean, Taylor's version just elevated it so much for me as well. I mean, I understand why it's not on the set list, but also I would have loved if it was. I mean, Speak Now era was done dirty on the Eras Tour set list, and it continues to be. Just the whole, let's not even talk about it. I'm sure there must be a reason for Taylor why she chooses to do that, but it's a whole other topic. Anyway, so for this song, I actually picked a book that I did not even like that much overall, but I found it to be the best fit. And that is what this video is about, to find the best fit, even if it's not my personal 5-star. So this book is Midnight is the Darkest Hour by Ashley Winstead. And this book talks about this super reserved Catholic, Christian, Southern American town, village, however you want to call it, and we follow our main character Ruth, who tries to navigate her life there, and there is a bit of mystery with some unsolved murders, but the reason that I'm recommending it for the song is because her relationship with her best childhood friend, it really reminds me of the song in a way that they are the best thing that has happened to each other, because they both have such crappy upbringings in very different ways. They both don't really have anyone else to rely on, but when they're with each other, it's like everything feels okay, and it seems just so pure and genuine, and they really love each other. It's not perfect. Everett leaves for a while and just leaves her to deal with whatever's on in that town by herself, and then he comes back, and it's just very, it's not always sunshine and rainbows with them, but at the end of the day, they are each other's person, and I just think that the song encapsulates that same sentiment. So yeah, that's why it gave me those vibes when I thought about which one to match. Sparks Fly, which is, I mean, it's a great song. I can see why it's a fan favorite. It encapsulates the whole desire and lust and passion from a very youthful perspective. And this one actually came quite easy to me when I thought about what book to match it with, and it's This Delicious Death by Kayla Cunningham. This is about a group of 4 girls who, it's set in this a bit of a sort of a dystopian setting where this disease called the Halloween kind of turned a lot of people into ghouls, but the government managed to find a way around it with synthetic flesh to maintain their cravings. So they eat this flesh and they don't crave to eat humans. So these 4 girls, they are all ghouls, and they go to celebrate their graduation at this music festival, and they find out that it's basically like a big giant wrong setup like situation there, as someone targets them to turn them into full-on ghouls, basically. And the reason I picked this one is because our main character's crush on her best friend is a very Sparks Fly-esque. She's so giddy and so adorable. Like, she really just wants to be with her, even though she's afraid that it would ruin their friendship. And her best friend is basically like her family, because her parents, they don't really accept her as a ghoul. Like, they just sort of keep her in her house, but like the doors, they have bolts on them and stuff like that, of her room. And yeah, it's just, her best friend is her family and her safe space, so she's afraid to ruin that by revealing her feelings, but she also can't help it. And once stuff does come out in the open, it's a bit explosive, just like sparks flying. So yeah, I would recommend this book if you're a fan of the song. We're back to December. It was one of the songs where I struggled a bit more to figure out which book to pick, and I settled on Cracked Up to Be by Courtney Summers. I wouldn't call this one like an outright thriller or like a murder investigation or anything like that. It is definitely more like coming of age suspense with a dash of mystery, but I still thought I'd include it because this is essentially a story about Parker, who witnessed something really bad at this party, and she knows she could have done something about it. The book doesn't tell us till the very end, so we're just left to watch her make her life just a mess because of this guilt she's feeling, and also almost like trying to destroy herself to atone for what she's done. And Back to December is basically a massive apology, atonement for just not being a good partner, wishing you could turn back time and whatnot. And I just got that same feeling reading this book. Like, Parker is not a likable character. She's a mess. She makes really bad choices, but she does all of that because she's just really struggling to deal with the stuff that is plaguing her from that night, and just things that she should have done because she knows she could have been better, but apparently not. So yeah, it's quite a short read. It's very, I wouldn't say poetic, but Courtney Summers has a very distinctive writing style. So yeah, it's not going to be for everyone because, like I said, Parker is a very unlikable character. However, I would still recommend it because I love this author and her work, and I think it's a decent enough match. Now, this one is probably a bit more on the nose, purely because of the setting, because Speak Now is obviously a song about someone interrupting a wedding to profess their love to the groom. And I picked The Guest List by Lucy Foley. I mean, I think everyone knows what The Guest List is about at this point, who's remotely read thrillers. It's set on an island at a wedding, and then someone is dead. We find out soon enough that it's the groom. Who did it? Why? You know. So, yeah, it's definitely a match, kind of a, well, it makes sense on a surface level, and it's mainly because neither Speak Now nor The Guest List are my absolute like favorite songs and books. They're like, I like them, but they're not like up there. And I thought, you know what? It just gives me the sort of vibes because the bride is just being a bit of bridezilla-ish, and then everyone is just sort of there, but at the same time, there are people who are like, this is not right. Like, just, we need to not necessarily stop the wedding, but there are definitely people who are holding on to secrets. And then once the groom is dead, stuff starts coming out, and it's just basically the sentiment is that Speak Now, although the narrator is very happy with the outcome, the wedding is actually a disaster when you think about it. Someone crashes the wedding, runs off with the groom, you know. And this wedding technically also ends in disaster. So, yeah, it works on some level. John, I mean, I think up until Up Too Well came out, which wasn't that long of a wait since it was literally the next album, Dear John was probably Taylor's magnum opus. It's not necessarily my favorite. I don't listen to it often at all because of how long and drawn out it is, because it can be. But at the same time, it's also so painful, and you can really feel that anger and anguish at this person who wronged her for so many different reasons. And to me, that song is essentially about this girl looking back on this relationship that she finally got the sense to leave, and realizing just how messed up everything really was, and acknowledging that, no, you should have known better. And I will explain why I matched this one with the song, but it is The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins. And again, I feel like absolutely everyone knows what this book is about. Voyeurism, a woman who's been left by her husband for a younger woman, becomes an alcoholic, doesn't really have a job, and spends her days riding this train, looking at people who have a better life than her, until one person that she observes goes missing. So, yeah, very unreliable narrator, very frustrating to see the main character destroy herself that much. And the reason why I matched it is because, so a lot of Dear John is about the age, how obviously she was only 19, and he was obviously a lot older, he should have known better. This is not necessarily the case with A Girl on the Train, because I believe that Rachel, the main character, and the husband, they're roughly the same age, so it's not that, but it's more, so he left her, and she became a complete mess, and she still, like, comes back to him, asks for help and all that, but then slowly throughout the story, despite her alcoholism, despite how much of a mess she is, she realizes how messed up her relationship with her husband actually was, and that, not even counting the cheating, but just all the little things that he did, and the ways that he made her feel, and how on purpose everything was, and how almost calculated everything seemed in their marriage. And then ultimately she sees that, I mean, at that moment it didn't seem like a good thing, but now leaving this marriage was probably the best thing for her. So I definitely caught that sentiment. Absolutely despised the husband in this book the same way you're meant to despise the male character in Dear John song. So yeah, to me, this match makes sense. On to Mean, and it's not a song I listen to often anymore, but you really hit the right spot for me when I was younger, because obviously it's a song for your bullies, like, oh, I'm gonna be so much better in life than you, and you'll just be a lonely, pathetic loser. And this book, it's a bit more of a looser match again, but I struggled to think of something too concrete, I guess. But to me, like, this song screams young adulthood, and People Like Us by Dana Mead is peak young adult thriller, mystery suspense about boarding school drama. friendships falling apart when they discover a dead body and everyone gets questioned, and it's a bit of like a Gossip Girl with Pretty Little Liars mix. And there's this one character who plays a huge part in the story who's kind of an outsider, and she starts sort of realizing that all these popular girls are getting their comeuppance, so to speak, for being mean and playing games with others' feelings. And yeah, I can't say much more without spoiling the story, but I think that it's as good of a match as it can be, because this is very youthful, very juvenile in that sense, and very petty in a way that the song Mean is. The Story of Us, which is again one of my favorites. I just love the sound, love the guitars, and just the solos and everything. Like, honestly, although I still enjoy Taylor's newer work a lot, I really miss those sort of instrumentals in her songs, and I hope that it's something she brings back in the future. But for The Story of Us, I picked an interesting choice, some might say, but it is The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. Again, I feel like pretty much everyone knows what this book is about. A woman shoots her husband in the face 5 times, gets locked up in a psych ward for it, and this psychiatrist decides he's gonna find out exactly what happened and make her talk, because she's not spoken a word since that happened. And the reason that I picked this is because obviously the whole mystery of trying to make her talk, realize why she shot her husband, automatically makes you think, well, something huge had to have happened. And ultimately, a lot of this book, in flashbacks of the wife and also of our psychiatrist and the narrator, a lot of it details crumbling of a relationship, the sort of that makes you think, how did we get to this point? And to me, the song has a similar sentiment, like, what happened? We started out so amazing. Everyone said, oh my god, you guys made it. And then look at us now. We're not even speaking. And obviously this takes it a step further, but yeah, ultimately, the wife, Alicia's, yes, her character is Alicia, her love story with her husband is definitely a tragedy. And our narrator Theo's personal life also crumbles. So for Never Grow Up, honestly, when I heard it on Taylor's version, I was sobbing like a little baby. Like, it never quite hit me the way that it did at that point. Until then, I think I needed to be older to appreciate what the song is about. But it's actually one of the saddest songs of her discography for me, so I just don't listen to it often, barely ever, because of how sad it is. And this book that I picked for the song is This Is Where We Talk Things Out by Caitlin Marcel. Very short horror novella of a mother-daughter trip gone very wrong, because the mother is not okay with the fact that her daughter wants to have a life of her own, doesn't want to be controlled anymore, doesn't want to let her dictate who she should be with, the fact that she's marrying a woman. Also, because when they go on this trip, yeah, like I said, things go wrong. I mean, I don't want to say anything more because look at how short this book is, but the reason why I matched it, I feel like this is a very sinister take on the song, because when the song starts, you have a woman cradling a baby, you can assume, and she's like, I wish no one ever breaks your heart, like, just if you stay like this, then no one can hurt you or disappoint you, like, you can avoid all of that, it can protect you. So I feel like this book is a very, very sinister take on that sentiment, because the psychological abuse and the delusion, to the point where I genuinely think the mother in this book thought that she was doing the right thing and like protecting her daughter. Like, that's how deluded she was. But yeah, Honestly, I wouldn't recommend this to everyone in the sense that this really made me super, super uncomfortable, more than a lot of horror books have, like genuinely visceral discomfort. But if you can stomach real life horror situations, then definitely pick this one up. I mean, and again, look at how short it is. It's an easy reading goalpost. You know what I mean. Next, we have Enchanted, which is yet another fan favorite. I mean, I love it, honestly. It's such a beautiful romantic song. And this one might seem a bit of a reach, but I picked Misery by Stephen King because the infatuation that the narrator in Enchanted feels, I feel like Misery and the way that Annie's obsessed with Paul is a very, very sinister take on that, because ultimately Enchanted, this narrator, she doesn't really know anything about the guy that she's crushing on this evening. And Annie doesn't know anything about Paul other than the books that he's writing. Like, she thinks she knows him and who he is, but ultimately it's a very, very parasocial relationship situation gone wrong in a lot of ways. And yeah, it just gave me that sort of vibe, because there she is, you know, thinking that, oh my god, we're having dinner together, or we're doing this together, oh my god, he's warming up to me, while in the meantime he's like, you're literally holding me hostage, and I want to kill you, because, you know, I kind of want to escape, because you're not letting me go, sort of thing. So yeah, a bit of a reach when it comes to matches, but yeah, it makes sense to me. For Better Than Revenge, which I mean, I love, honestly, petty, vengeful, and youthful. I thought another YA book actually fits the whole vibe and theme, and that is Deadly Cool by Gemma Halliday. And this is essentially a murder mystery where our main character, her boyfriend cheats on her because she wouldn't sleep with him, and then he gets accused of murder and asks her to help him clear his name. And, you know, being the amazing person she is, she decides to help. And yeah, it just sort of gave me that same vibe, you know, that this guy, he just strayed and well, then got his comeuppance, and our main character is like, well, you know, you're trash, and I could just let you go to jail, but, you know, I guess I'll find it in the goodness of my heart to help you, I guess. But yeah, it just, you know, if anything, it is probably the best revenge. Like, look at how amazing I am. I helped you clear your name and you couldn't even keep it in your pants. So yeah, it just gave me that vibe. For Innocent, which I think is a really beautiful song, but it's not the one I listen to often for some reason, I picked Entangled by Kat Clark. It's a Lithuanian version. I've had this for a while, hence why it's so yellow. Like, you can see that it's old. It's basically about a girl who wakes up imprisoned by this unknown assailant, and she's trying to figure out, you know, how she got there and how she can get out. Pretty simple, right? And the reason why I matched this is because our protagonist, she is not a good person. She was disappointing her family, her friends. She was, you know, being unsafe, drinking with random strangers, doing drugs, and all the stuff that, you know, basically a walk-in school pamphlet for bad decisions. So yeah, she's not a nice person by any means, but the song Innocent, I think the message is that, you know, who you are is not what you did, and you still have time to become a better person and to sort your life out and, you know, make amends to those you've hurt. And I think that's the sentiment that is in this book, that our narrator protagonist, she still has time to become a better version of herself if she wants to, you know, if she can get out of wherever she is. But yeah, now we are on to Haunted, and I don't have a physical copy for this one, but I picked Dracula by Bram Stoker. No explanation needed what this is about, but the reason I picked this book is because we have a lot of scenes with like Mina and Dracula, and obviously we know Dracula is a bad guy, and we know that Jonathan is the one that Mina is betrothed to. She loves him dearly, but at the same time, something about Dracula haunts her. Like, there is this appeal, there is this hypnosis, literally, that drives her to him, and she can't fully seem to shake that off. I mean, wrong album. Anyway, to me, that just kind of reminded of the sentiment that the song expresses. Because again, it's a song about a fractured relationship, about all that fallout and finding someone else but not feeling quite the same. So yeah, this one is a bit of a reach in that sense, but you know, again, it's difficult. But when it comes to just relationships, I feel like it applies in the sense that both to Dracula and to Jonathan, because obviously Jonathan was missing for ages and Mina thought that she lost him, and then she found out why he was gone for so long, and then there's this Dracula who's also like stalking her and whatnot, and yeah, lots of confusion, lots of difficult feelings, and lots of anguish, I would say. Not to mention, you know, losing her best friend as well. So yeah, it's as close of a match as I could think of, and I think it makes sense on some level. So yeah. For Last Kiss, which, I mean, it's a great song. I can see why it's such a sort of more of a deeper cut fan favorite. Like, it is a long and kind of similar sounding song, so I can see why the general public would think it's like boring or whatever, but it's beautiful, it's heartbreaking, one of the best bridges in her discography. So for this one, I actually struggled a bit, and the one I came up with, I will explain why, because some of you might be like, have you read the whole book? But I picked The Maidens by Alex Michaelides. I feel like most people know what this is about. A murder in a prestige college, a kind of a secret society vibe. Our protagonist tries to investigate what happened to help her niece, and yes, I have read the whole thing, and I know the plot twist and I know how it ends, and I feel like that puts a lot of things into perspective. But for a lot of this book, obviously our main character, Mariana, she lost her husband in a tragic accident while they were on holiday, and she keeps sort of thinking about him and replaying memories of them in her head, because she never imagined that their time together would be cut so short. And I know The Last Kiss is a song about obviously a breakup, you know, the other person is still alive and they just change their minds and whatnot. But then I also feel like it's kind of a double thread with this comparison, because at first obviously it's just like a tragic ending to this perfect marriage, and then as things unfold, obviously I'm not going to spoil anything, but then it puts the whole song matchup and the story into a bit of a different perspective, because things weren't as they seem, but there's still a lot of pain and a lot of why was this amazing thing we had ruined. It's just for different reasons once you know what happens in the story. Long Live was definitely a hard one to pick because it's so specific. Like, it's specifically a song for her band and her fans, and if I read like straight fantasy a lot, I feel like this would be a really easy one, but I do not. So I was thinking, what book would invoke a similar feeling? And this is going to be a weird pick, but I picked Horror Store by Grady Hendrix. It's about essentially a haunted IKEA, and the staff are trying to put a stop to it. And it just really gave me like a similar feeling of, you know, the whole staff banding together, saying, this is our store, and all these ghosts need to just go away, get out. Like, we're gonna make them leave, basically. And yeah, I mean, I don't really have that much to say because I love the song, but it is just very, very specific, and yeah, I think this is the closest that I'm gonna get. But if you can think of like a horror thriller book that would match it better, I mean, if you have like any other match ideas, then please let me know, because I'm just going off what I think, but it might be completely wrong for someone else. So yeah, we have Ours, which is now a bit of a controversial song, I should say, of who it's about. I mean, the whole like dissecting who Taylor songs are about is a whole other matter, but this one is very straightforward, and I am going to go for the exact meaning of the song without thinking who it's about, and I picked The Weight of Blood by Tiffany D. Jackson. This is a Carrie retelling about a girl who can pass as white but is actually biracial, and then after an incident with some rain, the school finds out, and it's a very conservative little town, so yeah, it does not go well for anyone. But basically, there's some romance in this book that wasn't in the original Carrie story. And personally, as far as the book itself went, that dragged it out for me actually, because I just wanted to get to, that scary part. But for the song, I just feel like Ours is about a relationship that is not approved by outside people for various reasons, and I feel like the romance that starts sort of budding in this book matches that vibe, because it's not going to be approved by anyone. Not that it matters what people in this town think, because they're all horrible, but they know that if they actually have a chance to really have this romance, I mean, it's all very uncertain at that point, very beginning stages, considering that technically the guy is with someone, but it's all falling apart, teenagers. But they know that if they want to have a real shot, it has to be done somewhere else, because this place is never going to accept them for who they are. But at the same time, it doesn't matter to them, because they know that whatever is happening here, it's something real. So yeah. By the way, I mean, definitely read this book. It's amazing. I have Superman, which is, honestly, it's such a cute song. I mean, I don't understand why it's so disliked by everyone. It's nice and fun and sort of breezy. But the book that I picked for it is the second part of A Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. So, can't tell you anything about the book itself, but the reason that I picked it is because our main character, Pip, she obviously starts her podcast in this book and all that, and her relationship with Ravi, I mean, it's so sweet, so adorable. Honestly, I love them so much. She kind of keeps running off, doing what she needs to do to, solve this case she's working on and, help people and whatnot, and Ravi's just like, you do you. You're amazing. You're perfect. I'll help you where I can. But if you need me to step away and let you do your thing, I'll just wait for you to be done, So, yeah, it gave me that sort of vibe, He's, like, cheering her on while she's saving the world, one criminal at a time. So, yeah. Made it to Vault Tracks. Now, for Electric Touch, which, I mean, I didn't love it as much as I thought I would, but I still really appreciated the Fall Out Boy collaboration. Please do another one, Taylor, please. If you're ever going to see this or someone from her team, can you just think about it? Anyway, I picked Verity by Colleen Hoover. Again, I feel like this is book talk royalty. Everyone who knows anything about thrillers has read this, so I'm not gonna even explain it. The reason I picked this is because, I mean, this is definitely like an erotic thriller, because it's explicit. So, go in expecting that. But, I mean, I thought this book was brilliant, despite not liking anything else I tried from Colleen Hoover, and I never will read anything by her again, but I stand by Verity anyway. The way that their romance between our main character and the husband happens, it is very explosive and very, like, for Lowen, it feels very, like, almost healing because of a crappy life she's had, like, this loneliness that she's had, like, which kind of, sort of, is the sentiment of the song, will this person's touch make me feel better, or is it gonna destroy me completely, sort of thing. So yeah. And even from Verity's POV, like, this whole start of the relationship and their chemistry with the husband, I feel like it also could apply. So yeah, I know a lot of like Taylor recommendation videos, they applied this book to like a song from Reputation or something, but I thought that would be too obvious. So yeah, I went against the grain. When Emma Falls in Love, I don't listen to the song often. I think it's probably my least favorite vault track. It's just, I don't know. I feel like it's a good song, but for some reason it just doesn't hit that same spot. But I am recommending one of the books that I really liked, and I'm reaching for this one a bit, so I will explain, but it is The Furies, which is dark academia, toxic female friendships at a boarding school. They're practicing witchcraft and whatnot, although it's a very interesting interpretation of it. And the reason I picked it is because, again, female friendships are a big part of this book, and with Emma Falls in Love, the narrator is observing her friend Emma, who is having these relationships and whatnot, kind of learning from her. So yeah, again, definitely a bit of a looser recommendation here, but it's just very... These girls in this book, they're so codependent on each other. They look at each other's relationships. They give each other advice. You know, they're trying to like learn from one another or sometimes egg one another on. I just feel like it's very... And it's very adolescent as well. Like, our main character, Violet, gets in these sort of kind of relationships, and it's all just such, you know, explosive disappointment just in the way that Emma disappears. What? Anyway, my experiences in the song, you know, the disappointment of failed relationships. So yeah, I definitely had to rack my brain. I'm not exactly super happy with this one per se, but at the same time, I just couldn't think of anything better. So, and I wanted an excuse to recommend this book because I really enjoyed it. I Can See You is such a good song. I want a whole album of the sound from Taylor, please. Fans have been begging for it. I've seen threads. Just listen to them, or at least a handful of songs like that. And the book that I'm recommending for this is The Night She Disappeared by Lisa Jewell. It's about this young mother and her boyfriend who both went missing, and a year later, this school teacher finds this sign that says "dig here," and then sort of an investigation reopens. And basically, the reason why I'm picking it is because I feel like there are certain relationship that unfolds in this book that I'm not going to talk much about because technically it is kind of a spoiler for the plot and then later twists, but certain relationship that develops, it is not right by any means because technically our missing girl is with someone else, the child's father. So it's all very forbidden and very, you know, enticing, and she keeps thinking about this person, and to me that captures that feeling of the song quite well. So yeah, Crumbling, it is yet another song that I don't listen to that often because it just wasn't what I expected. It's a good song, but I didn't expect for it to be this slow. But anyway, I picked You Must Not Miss by Katrina Leno, and this is more of a dark thriller, magical realism sort of thing about this girl who's just been wronged by everyone. So she starts writing in this notebook, making up this like alternate universe called Near, and she kind of starts using that to enact revenge on people who wronged her. And I mean, look at this gorgeous cover, but this one is essentially a revenge fantasy. And I know that Castles Crumbling is not a song about revenge or anything, but the sentiment is that our main character is completely abandoned by everyone in her family. No one really cares about what she does throughout the day. And all of her friends from school choose to believe this rumor this guy spread, and refuse to listen to her version of the story. And it's just very painful and very isolating. So I feel like that matches the sentiment in the song that, you know, she was on top of the world, everyone loved her, everything was great, and then things started happening and her castle just crumbled to the point where she doesn't have a safe space. So yeah, I think it's basically, you know, if Castles Crumbling had a bit of a reputation twist to it, but yeah, it's as best of a match as I could think of. Foolish One, again, yeah, I feel like Speak Now Vault is very, the songs that I love from it, I love, love, love. But then the songs I don't listen to much, then I just don't really care for them that much, even though I appreciate their good songs. I don't know, maybe at some point they'll grow on me. It's happened. Like some songs of Taylor's that I was a bit it happened that like 5 years later they grew on me. So it's a process. But anyway, for Foolish One, I picked Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. And I don't need to explain Frankenstein. I mean, we all at least have heard of it, but the reason why I picked it is because Elizabeth, she knows that Victor is never going to fully commit to her because he's in love with his science and with his discoveries. And at the end of the day, he ends up destroying her because she, was foolish enough to have the hope that he would actually put her first. And yeah, I don't think there's that much else to say because, again, I'm not super attached to the song, but yeah, I just felt really bad for pretty much everyone in this book who wasn't Victor. I kind of just wanted to smack him in the face. My last recommendation is the one that is the most of a reach, and it's the one that took me the longest to think, like, because all the other ones were ready by like January, February time, but I just could not think of a book for Timeless. Because I love that song so much, it makes me cry, but I just could not think of a thriller or a book that would match that concept, because I feel like it's more of a fantasy adventure sort of thing. And so yeah, this is definitely a reach, but I just thought, you know what? I can sit here on this video idea for another year before a song matchup comes to me. So yeah, I picked The Family Upstairs by Elisa Jewell. Again, probably her most famous book by now, so I don't need to massive detail, but this is essentially about like a cult who then 25 years later, some people involved in what happened, they are looking for a lost baby from all those years ago. I'm not explaining it very well, but anyway, so the reason why I went for this reach is because, it's been 25 years since the events, but there are still people who are invested in finding this lost baby, and they want to make her not feel so alone. And it just kind of invoked like a very loose feeling of this story of Timeless, that, we're timeless, we're going to find our way back to each other, we're going to make our life together and whatnot. So yeah, I'm not super happy with this matchup, so it's like I'm kind of ending it on a black note, but at the same time, if you've read like a horror thriller book that you think would be better for this one especially, then please do mention it. But yeah, this is the best I could come up with. But yeah, I mean, it is a popular book, it's not my favorite, but at the same time, I would still recommend it because I can see why it's so loved. But yeah, here we have it. My voice is completely fried, honestly. I am quite proud of my ability to rant. It's probably going to be a long one. I'll try to edit it as best as I can. But as far as the video goes, I will probably make another one or two of these this year max because they are a lot of work. But I do enjoy it. I just need to space it out. Course, if you liked it, please do give a thumbs up, maybe subscribe, leave a comment. I would love to keep building my little community. If you don't agree with some of these matches, then feel free to tell me. It's all just my subjective sort of reaches where I can identify some links. And if you have any other recommendations, then please do leave that comment. And I hope to see you next time. Bye.